It's Malcolm from Chiron Training. We're going to do a short video on a basic self-protection concept that I use to kind of organize the skills that I think are useful, and I call it the CAR. For those of you who are watching this on the public-facing side, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, there's going to be a follow-up full version of this on Patreon at level 3. So head on over to the Patreon. We'll put the website in the description on this video and check it out if you want to see the entire thing. But this is just a segment of it. So I was trying to describe self-protection skills to a friend, and I realized that a great metaphor for the layers of potential self-protection training was manifested as like a car, because most people have driven cars, most people have been in cars in some form or fashion, and so it's easy to think about all the different ways, especially modern cars, are designed to keep people safe as different layers of self-protection. So we start with road knowledge. Everybody who has an American license, as far as I know, should have taken a road test. And so understanding the basics of how people operate motor vehicles is huge for staying safe on the road. Same thing applies with violence. Violence dynamics, knowing how, when, why, where, with whom, etc. bad things happen, makes it a lot easier not to be there, and not being there is the highest level strategy. Next up is legal and ethical considerations. We spent a month talking about legal and ethical considerations and are now spending a month talking about violence dynamics. There's a lot to it, but the more you know about it, the easier it is to not be involved at all, which is, again, the highest level win. And then preparation and planning, setting up your go codes based on those violence dynamics and those legal and ethical considerations. Pre-articulation, which is another topic we've talked about in the Chiron cohort over on the Patreon. And I might do a public-facing video on it too later on. And tool selection, etc. All the stuff that happens before you even get into the metaphorical car, before you go out into the world that you think might be dangerous, all the stuff you do to prepare for potentialities and to shave the dice in your favor. Because ultimately, all of this stuff is rolling dice. Luck is involved. Yes, of course, skill is involved, but you still got a lot of elements that are outside of your control. So the stuff you can control, you really need to prioritize the pieces of it that are most important. Next, we have the steering wheel. So we're moving closer to the car. Now we're in the car. And the steering wheel involves ideas like awareness and threat recognition. I need to be able to tell when something might happen, because if I can tell when it might happen, I can leave before it does, or I can identify that this person could be a problem and be prepared, or more prepared if it turns into an issue. I can do environmental research about my specific area. So things that happen in DC might not happen in Portland. So I need to understand that. And the more of that I know, the more I can drive metaphorically around, or literally around, those issues. And then avoidance, which is an overarching concept that we're going to spend a month on further down the line in the cohort. So all of this stuff is huge, and it all is very low impact in terms of the damage on us. It does not cost me much of anything to employ my awareness. It does not cost me much of anything to do environmental research. It does not cost me much of anything to avoid places where I know bad things are going to happen. All of that stuff is easy, mostly free for people. Well, actually, that goes into a whole other conversation. Maybe I'll talk about that on the Patreon too. But it's easy, mostly free for people who have that level of social mobility. They can get around this stuff without any problems whatsoever. But it doesn't sell very well. It's harder to get people interested in the things that are less flashy. But they do need to understand that the closer you get to the event, in this metaphor being the accident, the more dangerous things get. If I wait until the last second to slam on the brakes because I didn't use a steering wheel and I didn't know the rules of the road, or even worse, I actually hit the car in front of me and the airbag deploys, I have a much greater chance of being injured, literally or metaphorically. Next, we've got the breaks, escape and evasion. Things have started to happen and I'm trying to get out of here before they get worse. De-escalation and interview management. Now, de-escalation and interview management are two different things, but that's another conversation. They are about stopping things that have begun to happen. If I'm de-escalating, it means things have already gone up and I'm trying to take them back down. Finally, we have the airbag. That is the physical skills, anything kinetic, anything that goes bang, boom, slice, or any of the above. So understanding this basic model can help people ID things that are most likely to influence their safety long term and most likely to influence their safety with minimal damage to them. Because I don't care how good you are at the physical stuff, it will cost you something. Friends, time, energy, resources, legal hassles, waiting. If you have never sat in a house or apartment waiting to get a call from a doctor about whether or not you contracted something from that person you fought, you probably want to leave that stuff alone. If you don't know what that's like, it's very uncomfortable. You probably want to leave all the physical stuff alone if you can, especially if you were a civilian and your goal is to get from point A to point B safely. So this is a basic car model for self-defense. Let me know if you've got any questions or any opinions, any thoughts, hopefully productive ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut it off right now. Patrons, be aware. We're going to put up part 2 in the Patreon in a couple of minutes, and you'll be able to take a look at that, and that'll go into some of the drills and exercises that you can do to kind of make this car model functional. All right, everybody. Hope you're being safe. See you next time.